Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. Today I have a very interesting story for you. Don't forget like to and subscribe. Now enjoy the story.
The text came in at 9:47 on a Tuesday morning, and by 9:52, I had wired $5,100 to a man I'd never met. I'm not a fool, I want to say that first, because everyone who hears this story gets the same look on their face, that soft, pitying look people give you when they think your mind has started to slip. I'm 76 years old, I built a roofing business from nothing, and I balanced my own checkbook for 40 years before banks decided to do it for us. I was not confused, I was scared, and fear, I have learned, can override 76 years of common sense faster than you'd believe. My daughter-in-law Priya married my son Marcus 8 years ago. She's a sweet girl, soft-spoken, the kind who remembers your coffee order and asks about your knees before she asks about anything else. She and Marcus live 2 states away in Ohio, and we don't see them as often as I'd like, but we talk, or we did. That's part of why none of this seemed strange to me at first. The text said, "Grandpa Ned, it's Priya. I dropped my phone in the sink and this is a borrowed number. Marcus is on a work trip and I can't reach him. I'm at urgent care, nothing serious, just need medicine for an infection, but my card got declined and I'm so embarrassed. Can you help? I'll pay you back the second I'm home." I read it twice. Something in my stomach tightened the way it does when one of the grandkids is running a fever. I typed back, "Of course, sweetheart, what do you need?" She said the pharmacy needed $5,000 wired immediately because the urgent care doctor said the infection was spreading and the medication was a specialty antibiotic, not covered by insurance because of some out-of-network mess. She apologized over and over. She said she felt like the worst daughter-in-law in the world for even asking. She said Marcus would kill her for not having an emergency fund. I want you to understand something about grief and love and old age, because I think it explains what happened next better than anything else can. My wife, Elena, passed 3 winters ago. Pancreatic cancer, diagnosed in March, gone by July. In the 4 months between those 2 dates, I watched what it looks like when a hospital tells you the medicine that might work isn't covered, and you have to choose between bankrupting yourself and watching someone you love suffer. I paid out of pocket for things insurance wouldn't touch. I would have paid anything. I would have sold the house. So when Priya said the words infection and spreading and not covered, something in me didn't think. Something in me just reacted, the way you'd pull your hand back from a hot stove before your brain even registers pain. I didn't call Marcus. I didn't call Priya's real number. I went straight to my banking app, the one my granddaughter set up on my phone last Christmas because she worried about me carrying cash, and I wired $5,100 to an account at a bank 3 states away. The 100 was for a rush fee. I remember thinking, even as I typed it in, well, that's an odd amount for a fee, and dismissing the thought, because what did I know about pharmacy rush fees? I'd never needed one. I trusted that the world worked in ways I didn't always understand, and that doubting my own granddaughter-in-law in her moment of panic was a worse sin than losing some money. The bank alert came through 9 minutes later, a small chime, the same one that tells me when my Social Security deposit lands. I looked at it out of habit more than worry, $5,100 sent to account ending in 4471, and for one strange, suspended moment, I felt good. I felt like a man who had done something useful with his money, who had been there for his family the way he hadn't always managed to be there for Elena in those last months, when there was nothing left that money could fix. That feeling lasted exactly as long as it took my phone to ring. It was Marcus, real Marcus, the one whose voice I'd recognize in a crowded stadium, calling not from a work trip, but from his kitchen table in Ohio, where he told me, with the particular flatness of a man trying very hard not to panic his father, Priya was sitting right next to him, very much not at urgent care, very much in possession of her own phone, very much not infected with anything. "Dad," he said, "did you send someone money today?" I sat down. I remember that specifically because I was standing in my kitchen and I had to find the chair, the way your legs do the deciding before your mind catches up. "Priya texted me," I said. "She needed help, medicine. She said her phone was broken." There was a silence on the line that told me everything before Marcus said a single word more. Then Priya's voice, taking the phone, gentle and horrified all at once. "Grandpa Ned, I didn't text you anything. My phone's been in my hand all morning." I won't pretend the next hour was anything but humiliating. We pieced it together the way families do after the fact, all of us talking over each other on a call that should have happened to celebrate something, not to perform an autopsy on $5,000. Someone had gotten hold of Priya's number, maybe from one of those data broker sites, maybe from something leaked in some unrelated breach years ago, nobody could say for certain, and used it to learn just enough about our family to make a story sound plausible. A new number, a believable scenario, a timeline too urgent for me to stop and verify. What got me wasn't the technology. I don't pretend to understand how someone finds a name and a relationship and builds a lie around it. What got me was how precisely they had aimed for the thing that would make me skip every step I might otherwise have taken. They hadn't asked for money for a car repair or a late rent payment. They'd asked for money for medicine, for a young woman I love, framed as an emergency too urgent for caution. They built the lie out of the exact shape of my grief. Marcus called the bank within the hour. We learned what I now understand most people eventually learn the hard way. A wire transfer isn't like a check. It isn't even like a debit card swipe, where a dispute can sometimes claw the money back if you're fast enough and the merchant cooperates. A wire is closer to handing someone cash through a car window and watching them drive off. The bank was kind about it. The young man on the phone sounded genuinely sorry, said this kind of thing happened to an alarming number of people my age, said there was a name for it now, grandparent scams, like I was now a statistic instead of a man who'd simply tried to help his family. They filed a fraud report. They told me the chances of recovery were low. They were right. I never saw the money again. What I want to tell you isn't really about the $5,100, though God knows that wasn't pocket change for a retired roofer living on a fixed income. What I want to tell you is about the 3 days after, when I couldn't look at my phone without my hands shaking a little, when every text that came in made my stomach drop before I'd even read it, when I found myself doubting a perfectly real message from my actual granddaughter about a perfectly real dentist appointment, because how would I know? How would I ever fully trust a text message again? I called Marcus back on the 4th day, not about money, but about something else entirely. I asked him if we could make a rule. Not a complicated one. I'm 76, not an idiot, but I also don't want a system with 12 steps and passwords inside passwords. Just one rule. If anyone in this family ever asks for money over text, no matter how urgent, no matter how heartbreaking the story, the answer is always the same. We call, not text back. Call the actual number we already have saved, the one that's been the same for years, and we hear the actual voice. If a phone is supposedly broken, drowned, stolen, dead, whatever the excuse, then somebody else in the family gets called instead. A sister, a cousin, a neighbor. There is always another way to verify a real person before money moves anywhere. Priya cried when Marcus told her about the rule, not because she felt guilty, though I think she did for a while, the way kind people absorb blame that was never really theirs to carry, but because she said it broke her heart that someone had used her, used the family's love for her, like a tool to take from the person who loved her most carefully in this world. I told her the same thing I'd tell anyone. The scammer didn't take advantage of her. He took advantage of love, of urgency, of the particular vulnerability of a man who'd spent 4 months 3 years earlier learning exactly how it feels when medicine and money and a person you love collide into an emergency. He'd done his homework on grief itself, even if he never knew her name was a coincidence and her real situation a fabrication built on guesswork and a stolen number. I think about that scammer sometimes in the unfair, surprising way you think about people who have hurt you. Not with hatred, exactly, though I'm allowed that too. Maury with a kind of bewildered curiosity about what kind of life leads a person to spend their mornings hunting for grandfathers like me, men softened by loss, primed to act before they think, sitting on retirement accounts and homes paid off after 40 years of roofing in July heat. I don't excuse him. I hope, honestly, that whoever runs that operation gets caught and faces what's coming to him. But I no longer spend my nights raging at a stranger I'll never meet. I spend them, instead, making sure the people I love know the rule, And no, I'd rather have an awkward phone call confirming something is fine than a smooth, urgent lie that drains an account in 9 minutes. The $5,100 is gone. I've made peace with that the way you make peace with a roof that's been damaged in a storm. You don't get the old roof back. You just learn how to build the new one stronger. What isn't gone, what the scammer never managed to touch no matter how cleverly he aimed for it, is the thing he was actually trying to steal beneath all the money. My trust in my family, my instinct to help when one of them is hurting, the particular tenderness I still carry for Alina, and everything her illness taught me about love under pressure. He got the money, he didn't get that. And every time my phone buzzes now with an urgent message, I take one breath and I call.